Hey everybody, welcome back to the third episode of Cosmically Curious with Gemini Jess. We're gonna go ahead and just dive right in. The astrology last week was personally a lot for me. I'm also going through some interesting transits, and I was in my late luteal, and it was just a week of ups and downs, roller coasters of emotions, all around. We still have a lot of the Aries energy in the sky. Saturn and Neptune are in Aries for the foreseeable future, but we do have Mars still in Aries, as well as Mercury in Aries through the end of this week before it joins the Sun in Taurus. So the way I like to see this is that the Aries energy is a little bit less consolidated and bunched together, and Mercury and Mars are making their own paths through Aries as they separate out from that Saturn-Neptune intensity of the last week and a half. It's kind of like they untangled themselves from this Aries mess and jumble of chaos, energy, burnout, all of that Aries stuff that we've been dealing with over the last few weeks. As of Saturday, Uranus has officially ingressed into Gemini. And a reminder for you all that if you do not have any planets in early degrees, I'm talking 0 to like 3 degrees of Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, or Sagittarius, this transit is not going to be affecting you individually yet. Uranus is going to take its sweet time moving through the 29 degrees of Gemini over the next 7 years. So yes, this is a big shift coming collectively. We're going to continue to see how this plays out for the next 7 years on a societal, generational level. But for now, if you're a June Gemini, this is not touching your sun. Whereas for me, as a May 22nd birthday with 0 degree Gemini, this Uranus is exact degree conjunct my sun right now. So we'll see how that goes. Also, my earring just fell out. That was funny timing. It's interesting too because we also have Pluto in Aquarius, which is there for 20 years basically. And this is really flavoring how we are going to see Uranus in Gemini expressed over the next 7 years. Because Uranus is going to trine Pluto at the end of the summer fall time. And this just really flavors it differently. I'd like to make one note, and this is not to fearmonger, but I just want to put some things into perspective without going too deep into it because frankly, I don't want to go there. But when the United States became a country, Uranus was in Gemini. So whenever Uranus is in Gemini, it is basically the United States Uranus return. And we have always found ourselves in some type of war when Uranus transits Gemini. I'm not going to go into that too much, but I just want to kind of put some things into perspective because we all know what is happening in the world around us, and astrology really reflects that. And we can learn a lot about astrology based on the history of our world, of our country, to see and to get an idea for how it's going to show up the next time it comes around. Before we dive into this week, I want us to take a moment to reflect on the last week. Over the weekend, we did have Venus move into Gemini and conjunct Uranus, as well as those Saturn, Mercury, Mars conjunctions, the Cancer moon squaring all of those Aries placements, and then Mercury squaring Jupiter on Sunday. And this feels like there is a lot of energy swirling around, a lot of space for emotional things to come up that maybe you hadn't really felt in a long time or that you didn't know were there. And with Venus involved here, it can show up relationally, but it can also show up as your own relationship to your self-worth, how you communicate and express your needs and desires. And you also may be coming into this week with new insights and new ideas and maybe even a new appreciation for the relationships in your life, for your relationship to money and your self-worth. So I want you to take a moment to really reflect on this last week and what was coming up, because these planets play out stories in our lives, and that story is really different for every single person. On Monday, we have a day-long void moon. Void moons are something newer that I've been working with, but I see them playing out in my life, especially longer ones. So void moons basically represent the time where the moon does not make any aspects to any planets before moving into the the next sign. The moon stays in a sign for 2.5 days. So the void moon period can really be anywhere from an hour to, for example, this Monday, basically the whole day. It feels a lot harder to get things done and take steps forward. I don't feel like you should expect to get much done on Monday because there's a lot less motivation and a lack of ability to access any sort of productivity. We had another void moon all Monday last week, and I felt that. I was like, why is nothing getting done? And they're not usually a full day, but these last 2 Mondays have these extra long void moons. So if you're feeling like you're trudging through mud, it's the moon. Just give it a few hours. Give it till Tuesday, and that momentum will start to increase again. Venus is still very activated this week as it moves into Gemini, because on Tuesday, Venus in Gemini trines Pluto in Aquarius while simultaneously squaring the north and south node. This to me feels a little bit different than the energy of last week, where things maybe felt a little triggering, or things were coming up that were making you feel really sensitive or really tender, or you had new ideas come through in a relationship. Now it's about going deeper, right? Pluto represents these subconscious experiences. And the north and south, oh my gosh, my earring keeps falling out. And the north and south nodes really represent this idea of the behaviors in our life that are no longer serving us, but that keep us very safe, comfortable, and intact. So my question here for the first half of this week that I want you all to really be thinking about is, what behaviors in my life, more specifically in my relationships, in my relationship to money, in my relationship to my ability to express and communicate what I need and desire within my life, what behaviors are actually holding me back? There are a lot of things that we do on autopilot due to our childhood conditioning or the way that we were raised or our past experiences out of survival mode. We're doing these things because we are trying to feel safe and stay alive. It's one of our most basic needs as humans. It's to survive and to stay safe. Really think about the behaviors in your life that actually hold you back from experiencing deeper levels of intimacy and connection with the people in your life. That nodal square can feel like a little bit of a crossroads. It's like you're standing in this moment in time, and you can go this way, and you can stay safe, and you can stay comfortable, and that's okay, because sometimes that's all we can do. Sometimes all we can do is survive. Or we can go this new, unexplored, unknown way that feels really scary, that feels really intimidating, but that will actually open us up to such a deeper experience of love, relationship, money, security, and stability. And it's interesting because while this is happening, the moon is in Libra, which is ruled by Venus. And Libra can represent this energy of superficial connection. Not saying that Libras are superficial necessarily, but because they're so focused on this idea of balance and harmony and beauty around them, that they can actually suppress these parts of themselves in order to keep the peace, in order to keep things beautiful. And so they hold back what they need, they avoid conflict, which you can argue is really not intimacy and vulnerability at all. We need to be able to honor the Pluto-ness of a relationship, that Venus trine Pluto this week, of really being able to stand in front of the people in your life, stand in front of your mirror, stand in front of whatever is metaphorically holding you back, and say, how am I going to take this deeper, even though it feels really scary? Because as we make choices in our life, as we respond in certain ways, whether that's in a new, unfamiliar way or a comfy, safe way, those are literally putting the building blocks for your future. So all you have to do is step off one way, differently one time and a whole new world can open up. But it's also about showing your nervous system that you can be safe to do these things. And the only way that we can prove to our nervous system that we are safe is by doing the thing that we think is actually not going to be safe anymore. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but that's Pluto energy. That's the energy of like, we're gonna go here and it's gonna be uncomfortable and I'm actually maybe a little scared, but there's so much beauty and transcendence and transformation that is found when we explore our edges and when we take those leaps of faith. And I think this pairs really, really beautifully with the full moon in Scorpio on Friday. Because when the full moon happens, the sun is shining all of its light on the moon. So you can't avoid these scorpionic moon themes in your life. It's like the truth that has been hidden underneath that you've been ignoring is kind of coming to light in these moments. And Scorpio does not beat around the bush. It doesn't lie. It's a bullshit detector through and through. That's why people are so intimidated by Scorpio, is because it can see your bullshit. So if you have a lot of Scorpio in your chart and you feel like people are afraid of you, you're right, they are, because they're projecting their own shit and because they know that you can see it. So it's really asking this question, where have things like power, the desire for power, the need to feel like you're in control, fear of change, of the unknown, and your attachment to people, places, and things, how have those informed the behavior that you are acting out in your daily life? And it goes beyond this material physical realm. It's about our subconscious, these things that we do on autopilot that we don't even realize that we're doing. And that's why astrology can be so helpful, because it can name these behaviors and these parts of yourself that are working underneath the surface that you weren't currently aware of. There's also that Aries theme that's still really showing up around our ability to express our needs and our desires and any wounds that we may have around our identity, because on this day, Mercury and Chiron are conjunct in the sky. It's our wound around our voice, our self-expression, and how our own behaviors, aware of them or not, are potentially holding us back from taking that next step forward within our life, within our ability to communicate, within our relationships, within our career, and really being able to name those things with a beautiful, bright, illuminating Scorpio full moon that allows you to see those things and ideally not be afraid of them or not run from them, because they're truly being illuminated for us to be able to move through them and respond and move differently with these parts of ourselves. Nothing that you are not ready to experience or work through will ever show up in your life. If something comes to you when you listen to me talk about this, that thing is made conscious for a reason, and now you get to work with it. And most often when things become conscious, they almost feel impossible to ignore, and that's the point. You're not supposed to ignore it anymore. So we've got Venus and Uranus and Gemini. We've got a little bit more access to that airy, flowy energy. We're feeling a little bit more flexible, a little bit more adaptable and nimble in the way that we are moving through the world. However, we still do have an Aries stellium up until Sunday when Mercury joins the sun in Taurus. So at this point, I really think that we're going to start to slow down even more, which we all really, really need. April was meant to be a pretty intense month, astrologically speaking. And once Mercury joins with the sun, we can really start to become more practical and realistic with all of the Aries stuff that came to be, both through the Aries new moon, the Scorpio full moon, and just those Aries stelliums. And we really start to get to be a little bit more intentional with the way that we're moving. So by the end of this week, we'll have a lot less fire in the chart and we'll start to really balance out that energy a little bit more. In honor of the switch from Aries into Taurus energy, I am hosting a free 14-day breathwork series that I'm calling Alive to calm down a little bit, tap back into the body, and learn some really simple and easy breathing techniques that you can use on your own for just 5 to 10 minutes a day that will completely shift your state of being, whether you need to down-regulate or up-regulate. I have practices for you. So if you are interested in joining this 14-day series, please just send me a DM on Instagram at Gemini_Jess with 3 S's with your email and I will get you added to the list. You are not expected to join every call. We're going to meet live about 10 times over the 14 days and the recordings will be sent out after. However, I do challenge you to try and join those live if you can, because we'll have a moment to kind of connect and share our experiences after the breath work. But I'm really excited to be sharing that with you all, as breathwork is something that has been tremendously life-changing for me and that I plan to continue to bring into my work with astrology. So with that said, I don't think I have anything else for you all today. Just a reminder, all day Monday we do have that void moon, so I highly recommend nothing. As in, don't do anything, don't try to get things done. Mondays are often a good day to get stuff done, but Monday is not the day this week. That energy will return Tuesday morning when you wake up, and then we'll move into some of those Venus activations with Pluto and the North Node welcoming us into the full moon in Scorpio on Friday, which I think is going to be very beautiful. Maybe a little bit intense, but that's Scorpio and we wouldn't have it any other way. And then leading into the weekend, we do have another void moon for Saturday morning. So once again, Saturday morning, not the time to get a bunch of stuff done. Wait until Sunday for that. And then we have Mercury moving into Taurus on Saturday night, joining the sun. So we start next week a little bit more grounded, a little bit more connected to our brain with that Gemini energy, and ready to take on May. Crazy that it's already May. Well, I love you all. Thank you for being here. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, as well as follow me on Instagram at Gemini_Jess with 3 S's. These episodes are also now available on Spotify under Cosmically Curious with Gemini Jess, if you prefer to listen in that way, as I know a lot of people do. And I hope you all have another wonderful week. And as always, stay curious.